Good morning, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me, but good news is I can't hear myself. So we're hoping this works out. Uh, hi everybody. I've had a technologically ungood morning. So this is my third attempt at the Facebook Live today. So today's topic is: have you ever noticed that some people are more noticeable of others? And so it's essentially, the topic is about how to be seen so that you are being heard, which is a way to be sure that you're seen as memorable for other folks. So that is what I want to talk to you guys about today. All right. So I guess my first question is, are you memorable, right? So do you do things that make you be seen and then be seen as memorable? I'm only going to offer up about 5 tips today. Normally, that's about where we do what we do with things, but it's really part of an entire influence module that is part of the coaching program that I do. So oftentimes, many of my clients come to me and say, I want to increase my influence with my boss. I want to increase my influence with my peer group. And so the first thing we do is we start by changing some of the signals that they're sending to their boss or to other people. And so today I wanted to just cover like 5 different signals you can use to be more memorable to your boss or your peers, or really whomever it is that you want to be more memorable for. By the way, hi, I'm Jackie Schwab. I am the founder of the Press Play Lifestyle Signature System, and I'm also a professional success coach. So, with that being said, what is the first thing that you can do to be more memorable? And I don't think this one is a big surprise to anybody, right? The first thing that you can do to be more memorable is to smile. And we mean a real smile, not the fake one that we can all spot a million miles away. There's been research that shows people who smile more are actually viewed as happier, more confident, and more likable, which again, probably doesn't surprise anyone. It really is a good way to judge how people feel about you. For example, I have a family member that I know does not particularly care much for me. Frankly, the person probably does everything they can to avoid smiling at me or to be in my presence. So, right. So, very often by the way someone does or doesn't smile at you about how they really feel. Now, there are actually ways that you can practice smiling and ways that you know when a smile is real. So, I'm going to be all extra animated today so you can kind of see that. It's very, very hard to fake a real smile, but I'm going to give you some tips and then you can practice in the mirror and make sure yours is better, right? So, first is the corners of the person's mouth. So, this is not a real smile, right? A real smile is the corners of the mouth are upturned, right? The other thing is the cheeks, right? So, you might notice, thankfully, I have big, punchy cheeks. So, when I smile, you see my cheeks actually go up as well. Although I'm not sure I wanted to particularly point this out, but you can also notice when you smile, you see the corners and the wrinkles in my eyes. So that's because I smile a lot, first of all, and I'm getting older, but it's also a component of a real smile. So if you're not sure that you got your like fake, hey, how you doing smile. But if you're trying to practice a smile, just take a little bit more time, go and check out the mirror, make sure your cheekies go up, the corners of your mouth go up, and you got some wrinkle action going on the side. All right, so enough about the smile. The next one is interesting. So, if you really want to be seen, right, or memorable, a lot of people, when you're doing face-to-face interaction or video interaction, right, is people move their eyebrows, right? You may notice, maybe not notice me doing that on my videos, but you'll probably notice more often now, right? So if you think about it, eyebrows show a lot about people, and especially like in cartoons, you can definitely tell. So when they're mad, right, I furrow my brow, my eyebrows are down. When I'm curious, oh, that's interesting, right? So the way that you move your eyebrows or not moving your eyebrows is a way that is seen as inviting or not inviting to others. So that's one way you can become more memorable, and being more memorable helps you increase your influence. Third one is interesting, and I thought it was cool. The one detail that I really, really liked was tilting your head, right? It's like showing you're interested. It doesn't matter if it's right or left. Now, here's the reason why there's the belief that we do this and that people then believe we're more interested or more friendly. Because when you turn your head, you actually expose your carotid artery. And when you do that, it shows that you are not a threat and you don't perceive them as a threat, right? Therefore, you're friends. I mean, just consider when dogs fight, where do they bite, right? They go through for the throat. You ever see a puppy kind of do they do the little cute head tilt, and you assume that they're more friendly, right? It's the same thing for people. So when you're interacting with others, consider, working on a slight tilt. Now, don't be doing this because then they're going to think you're goofy. But just like a slight tilt once in a while, like, oh yeah, you're really interested. And this really shows, and studies have shown that people who tilt their head, the other person either sees them as more attractive. So I guess I'm better looking now, right? More trustworthy, and often they see them as kind. And just again, think about it. What is a hostile position for your neck, right? Head down, chin tucked, protecting your neck, giving a furrowed brow, all the things we just talked about, frowny face, right? That's not seen as very friendly, and certainly not in the memorable in the way that you would like it to be. We're not your friend, right? Not your friend. I'm your friend, right? Kind of see the big change there. Now, another one that I really like is this idea of mirroring. And one of the reasons I like it is you can kind of experiment a little bit with it and prove to yourself it's true or it's not true, which is one of the things that I really like about it. So, mirroring is exactly what you think it is. It's actually mirroring a person's mannerisms, mirroring their body language. You can even mirror the speed of how they talk. Like, I'm a kind of a fast talker. If I talk really fast like this with someone who's kind of like more of a relaxed talker, they get annoyed, right? They get annoyed because they're giving you the pace that they want you to be on with them. So when you're looking at someone or you're interacting with someone or even on the phone, if you hear them really high voice, maybe give yourself more voice. If they're really quiet, clearly there's something going on at their house. If you're yelling there, even though maybe that person can't hear, they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, they're gonna hear that. They're gonna hear me yelling, right? So it's important that you similar pacing of your voice, similar volume of your voice, even if you're not face to face. Now, when you are face to face, if someone has gestures, right? I talk with my hands. So if I'm like, oh, and I like this and I do like this, if you mirror that gesture occasionally, then there's automatically we believe that when we naturally mirror another person, our rapport with them is high. When you have high rapport, it typically means that you're friendly, right? So if someone tilts their head, well, then maybe once in a while you'll tilt your head too. Or if they lean in, maybe you lean in a little bit too. Cross their arms. Maybe they're cold, but even if they are giving you kind of the weird, I don't want to be by you vibe, if you kind of cross your arms too. So avoid being too obvious though, because there's this fine little line between mirror and mockery, and nobody likes to be mocked. But the fun part about all of this is if you actually mirror someone's behavior long enough, what ends up happening is you can actually lead the behavior. So you see me kind of lean back, right? And if I lean back, the person will actually lean back a little too. But it usually only works if you've been mirroring them for quite a bit of the time that you're together and not mocking. So give it a try. It's a fun little task to see. And if you actually are able to lead them into mirroring you, your influence is very, very high. And so will be your memorability. And the last tip for today is lean in, right? So, and I like this one because I can talk about the lean in and then kind of the lean out piece. But think about if you like someone, very often you'll lean towards them. Or if you're going to tell them a secret, right? You lean all the way in. And the other similar body posturing is people who like one another normally have their torsos, right? Their bodies are pointing to one another. They also often their feet, right? So if you're in a conference room, people all kind of turn toward the person that is talking. They have their feet, if they have their feet crossed, oops, I just like knocked my stuff over. If they have their feet crossed, they're very often their feet are crossed and pointing in the same direction. If the two people are talking or three people are talking, it's kind of funny, right? We all turn together, even though it'd be better if one wasn't. Everyone's feet are kind of in a little mesh in the middle. So just take a notice the next meeting, like watch people's posturing. Do you see people move toward the leader, right? The leader usually owns the posturing in the room. The other thing is you also notice if there's someone that doesn't like someone else, right? Or if they don't want to be in there, they kind of like lean back a little bit, or maybe they're moving around. Maybe their chair's pointing like toward the back of the room. Their feet are kind of just under the table. So what's cool about sort of this lean in piece is if you're in a meeting, if you use mirroring, you might be able to get everybody back on the same page. But B, you can kind of see some of those unseen, unsaid conversations that are going on based on the way people's bodies and feet are pointing. Now, I just want to note that because there's always that guy that has to tell you, well, that's not true for this. And of course, right? Not all tips work for everyone. So I have two examples of how all tips don't work for everyone and for all the time. The first is eye contact. Now, the reason I bring that up is very often they say, like, eye contact is better. However, I happen to live in a community where there are a lot of people on the autism spectrum. People on the spectrum often turn away and don't look at you. And it's not out of disrespect or even out of a broken rapport. It's actually painful for some of them to maintain eye contact. And so part of the way that they cope is to kind of look away. Now, in a atypical or in a typical situation where neurotypical people are together, eye contact is seen as a rapport building, but it does make sense to be considerate for whom you're working with and everyone that you're around. So not all tips work for everyone. Another example right now is often if you seen as rapport is if you touch someone on the shoulder. Nowadays in work environments, people are not definitely in with the whole touching thing, right? They don't want people to be touching them. They're also not very thrilled with people who, right now, with the virus things that are going around in different parts of the world, people are not touching as much. Touching is also very culturally centric. So we have our friend Fabino, who's back from yesterday, from Brazil. People from Brazil are very, very touchy, right? They do a lot of touching. I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're very conservative people, so we don't tend to do a lot of touching. So then the point being, not all tips work for everyone. Yeah. Hi, Susan. So Susan says, elbow high fives, right? Right now we're not handshaking right now. So it's just an example of ways to have more influence, but to know that not all things work for everyone all the time. So again, we sort of talked about a genuine smile, right? Corners up, cheeks, my big fat cheeks and my nice little happy lines. Raising your eyebrows, giving a little that, head tilt, mirroring where you mimic the sound, the pace, or the body language, and leaning in. Lots of other tips and tricks in the influence part of my coaching program. If you found this helpful for anyone, please take the time to both like and share. Thanks, Fabino. It's nice to see you. Like and share it with a friend that maybe needs some help with their Win Friends and Influencing People stuff, right? That's also a very good book. Join our free Success with Balance for Entrepreneurs Facebook group. You'll get all kinds of tips and tricks like this for how to become both influential and irreplaceable as a leader. And so I invite you all, before we head out, to embrace your pause, right? Play the game you want to win and prosper with a life by design and not by default. All right, folks. See ya mañana. Bye-bye.